Hey y'all, Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and in this video, we are going to talk about why housing inventory remains low in Seattle and across the country. As a real estate agent in the Seattle area, King County, Snohomish County, we've seen one of the hottest real estate markets we've ever seen, and home prices right now across King County, Snohomish County, even Pierce County are at all-time highs. So why? And people ask me this question frequently, why are homes not selling? Why are more people not putting their houses on the market? Well, I think it's fairly simple. It seems like it would be more complicated, but I don't think the answer is that complicated. The biggest issue that people are facing, sellers are facing, is that they don't have anywhere to go. Most people want to continue owning a house. Some people will decide to sell for different reasons. So there are people that are selling right now, and maybe we should take a sec to think about those people. The people that are selling right now are maybe relocating out of the area for a job. Maybe it's an estate. There was a death in the family and they're selling the property. Maybe there's a divorce. Maybe they're downsizing, so they're buying something smaller, so they're actually spending less money for the next purchase. Regardless, these people have an extreme motivation or an enhanced motivation to sell their property right now. They need to sell. So those people are still selling their home. But what I've found is there are a lot of people in this other bucket. They would like to sell, but they don't need to sell. I am in that bucket. I am one of those people. I have a house that works for me. It's not perfect. It's not my dream house, but it's good. It works. I bought a house that was a little too big when I moved in. I didn't need as much space as I have, and I've been able to grow into it with my family as my family's grown, and we have 3 kids now. But at the same time, there are other people in the same situation as me. There are also people that really do feel like they've outgrown their space, but they still don't know where they're going to go next. So they might be casually looking, and I have clients that are casually looking for a house, but they don't have the motivation level that somebody who doesn't have a house or is moving to the area has. So they want something different, but their motivation level isn't enough to be crazy and to compete with some of the other people who are desperate to get a house. So they would like to buy something, but they're not willing to be crazy enough. And at the same time, there are people that need to sell their house before they buy another one. And those people that need to sell before they buy their next house, they have a tough situation because there aren't a ton of options. I made a separate video, and I'll link it up in the description, on the ways that you can buy and sell at the same time. And I'll give you a brief overview here. Most people are going to need to sell their house that they live in before buying the next one. So that equals they sell their house and most likely move into a rental right now, and then buy their next house. Super inconvenient. There's another variation of this where you can sell your house and then rent it back from the new owners. Now, that's a fairly common situation, but it's really only good for 2 months because most people are going to own or occupy a home after they buy it. So they would only be able to allow you 2 months because that's what the lender will allow. So the lender is asking them to occupy the home within 60 days of closing. So they can offer you up to 2 months of free rent back, which is very common in this market, to allow you time to find somewhere, but there's no guarantee because the market's so hot that you're going to find anything. So then there's these buyers that would sell and can sell, but they're in a tough spot. They either have a 2-month time frame to buy a house, or they have to rent somewhere first. The other batch of those people could go ahead and buy something contingent on the sale of their house, but in this housing market, especially in the Seattle Bellevue area, there's no opportunities to buy a property contingent on the sale of another property. Most offers have 0 contingencies in them, at least the majority of them. So in that case, that particular person is not going to qualify to buy a house right now. So they would need to sell their house first to be in a stronger financial position. But either way, it's super inconvenient to be somebody who needs to sell before they buy. I also mentioned the buyer earlier in this video, the buyer who can afford to buy something else and is casually looking, but they still have a house that works for now, or at least is good enough. So that person might be able to do it, but their motivation isn't high enough. But once they buy something, they'll certainly be selling their house. And I've had some of those situations this year as well. People who maybe really did feel the desire or have a higher motivation to buy, they've bought and then they've sold. The other buyer, the other person, is going to be keeping their house maybe as a rental, and then they have the ability to go buy that next house. And again, they're probably not as motivated either. So you have a lot of the sellers, right, that would be buyers that are maybe considering the market. A couple of those buyers situations, they're out there looking, but they're not super motivated. So they're not having success in the market where 20 people are trying to buy a house. And then you have this other group of people that really just feel like it's a tough situation and they don't want to be inconvenienced. So these people are either going to need to decide to be inconvenienced or continue to wait. And so you have this vicious cycle. You have a lot of houses that might go on the market, but they're just waiting. They're waiting for the opportunity to buy, which right now isn't there because there's low inventory. So you have low inventory, which is continuing to perpetuate the problem. So at this point, unless the market was to shift dramatically and there was a bunch of new houses to come on the market, I don't think we're going to see the amount of houses or the inventory, supply, whatever you want to call it, pick up in the Seattle area and across the country, because what it's going to take is more opportunities for people to buy. And then eventually, once that happens, you're going to have a floodgate of all these other listings that are going to come on as a result, which will, if it happens, impact the buyer-seller market dynamic and maybe restore a little bit of balance. Because right now, we're in a heavy seller's market, and that's a market where the seller is dictating the price and the terms and is essentially just choosing the highest bidder. A buyer would prefer to buy in a buyer's market where they're the ones dictating the price and terms and there's not as much competition. And I think the real estate market functions in a better, more healthy way when it's a little bit more neutral and there's a little bit of opportunity for both buyers and sellers. So those are my thoughts about why we are currently in a low inventory market in Seattle and across the country, and why I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. Thanks so much for watching this video on why I think we will continue to stay in a low inventory housing market here in Seattle and in other markets around the country. If you found value out of this video, and I know you did if you watched it all the way to the end, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see other content like this, please subscribe to my channel.